Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the main news on Camnet TV. Here are the top stories making headlines in our news tonight. Stephen KAMPYONGO predicts further escalating in the cost of living. There is nothing to write home about in the 2024 budget, charges KBF. Zambia agrees memorandum of understanding with the official creditors committee. And in international news, Sudanese lose hope as war enters 6th month. And in sports news, Morocco coach anticipates grueling TOTALENERGIES AFCON. My name is Sylvia Zulu. Do join me with the details shortly.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. REGRAGUI, your smart irrigation partner.
And now the news in detail. Safety for people on the move. President Chifuesa Kauma has called on the government to urgently address road traffic accidents by coming up with mechanisms that will promote road safety and provide road safety education to its citizens. Speaking during the launch of Safety for People on the Move Zambia and fundraising dinner, Mrs. Kauma says the launch of the organization is aimed at making roads safer for all users in view of high road fatalities. Meanwhile, Minister of Transport and Logistics Frank Tayali says the government places emphasis on the need to reduce and prevent road traffic crashes and fatalities. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by the Director of Transport Engineer Nkumbu Siama.
Road traffic injuries are a huge public health and development problem that cause nearly 1.3 million preventable deaths and an estimated 50 million injuries each year, making it the leading killer of children and young people worldwide. Certain approaches have been found effective in reducing the crashes and the accompanying injuries and death on the roads. A newly formed organization called Safety for People on the Move has been launched with an aim to make roads safer for all users. The organization president Chifuesa Kauma says the movement was born out of deep commitment to contribute toward making roads safer for all road users in view of alarming statistics on the number of people who perish annually in road traffic accidents. Speaking during the launch, the organization president has called on the government to urgently address the road traffic accidents by coming up with mechanisms that will promote road safety and provide road safety education to its citizens.
We have to all come together and do this. Let's come together and reduce the number of people dying each and every day on our way. So we love the government of Zambia to take this issue very seriously. We know they are already supporting us, but we would like to see more. The passion, the energy we saw when we had all these pandemics, the HIV and AIDS pandemic, we had stickers all over. We have stickers all over toilets, we have stickers all over buses on HIV. But on road safety, yeah, we are trying, but we can do more.
Meanwhile, speaking at the same event, Road Transport and Safety Agency Chief Executive Officer Engineer Amon Mwemba has urged the newly formed organization to work closely with RATSA in promoting road safety for all road users. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by Engineer Alinani Misia.
The government is ready to work with all these organizations that will help reduce road safety, road traffic crash injuries and deaths in Zambia. So we are hopeful that they will really work hard.
Meanwhile, the government has welcomed the initiative and strategies that will promote road safety for all users. Minister of Transport and Logistics Frank Tayali says the government places emphasis on the need to reduce and prevent road traffic crashes. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by Director of Transport, Engineer Nkumbu Siama.
On behalf of government, I wish to assure you that our supports are welcome to knock on our doors when we need a license. As governments, we are aware that awareness is a very important part of road safety. Organizations like Safety for People on the Move should be given all the necessary support to conduct road safety campaigns countrywide. This will promote good road user behavior among all road users and in turn reduce the number of road accidents on our roads.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Governance activist Wesley Mianda has welcomed the government's move to commence mass selling of mealie meal at 230 kwacha and 190 kwacha, with ZANBIA outlets selling 10 kwacha less. The government will Sunday commence selling of mealie meal in ShopRite stores in the wake of high commodity prices. Mr. Mianda says the move is welcomed as it aims to mitigate the suffering of many citizens and hopes effort meant to distribute the mealie meal will be well planned. In welcoming the measure, economist Yusuf Dodia has called on the government to find the root cause to high mealie meal prices, stating that the current arrangement is not sustainable. Details in this report.
The now anticipated Zambia National Service mealie meal sales commences Sunday. Government on Tuesday announced the commencement of mealie meal selling by ZANBIA in what it terms a move to rationalize prices of the commodity. Members of the public and alike have expressed mixed reactions, with the move generally receiving acceptance. Governance activist Wesley Mianda has welcomed the move, but stresses that the announced prices of mealie meal indicate that the commodity will still be higher in other shops.
I think it's something that can help because at least people will be able to have 3 meals per day, where people will be getting it at 230 kwacha per 25 kg breakfast bag of mealie meal. So when you look at this price, people may actually come up with a lot of debates as to why, because in the first place, you know, it was rumored that the same Zambia National Service people will be selling their mealie meal at 195. Now that we are talking about 230 per bag, then we suspect that in other shops, the bag of mealie meal will be actually fetching close to 300.
Commenting on the matter, economist Yusuf Dodia has equally welcomed the mealie meal sales.
Generally goes against the free market economics and free market economy that we have today. So while it's a welcome move, I myself, when this mealie meal comes out at 230 kwacha per bag, I'm going to buy 1 or 2 for my house.
Mr. Dodia has however called for implementation of long-term measures in addressing high mealie meal prices in the country.
But from a national perspective, clearly the Zambia National Service initiative is going to last for a few weeks and then we'll go back to high prices. So we need to deal with the root cause. Why is Zambian mealie meal at 300 plus? Is it because of the floor price of maize at 280 kwacha per 50 kg bag? Is it because of the cost of production in terms of fuel prices and ZESCO tariffs? Is it the cost of money, that borrowing money from the banks, milling companies are, or the mealie meal value chain is paying 20% interest to the banks for getting money? These are the things that we need to look at.
For Camnet TV News, Hafias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Lukasha constituency member of parliament George Chisanga has rejected President Hakainde Hichilema's bid that members of parliament should belong to the local councils in order to enhance decentralization. During the official opening of the 13th session of Parliament, President Hakainde Hichilema directed the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Gary Nkombo, to make legislative arrangements that will pave the way for all members of Parliament to belong to the local councils. Mr. Chisanga says the move will make the members of Parliament, especially those from the opposition, irrelevant. Meanwhile, Kabwata constituency Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Simata feels the move will undermine the relevance of councillors and the spirit of decentralization.
During the official opening of the 13th session of Parliament, among key pronouncements President Hakainde Hichilema made was the need to revise the Constituency Development Fund CDF Act to, among other things, make sure that all members of Parliament belong to local councils. To affirm this commitment, the President further directed Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Gary Nkombo to make legislative arrangements that will pave way for the changes. Recently, we spoke to Luwena constituency Member of Parliament Mubita Anakoka, who backed President Hichilema's bid that members of Parliament should belong to local councils in order to enhance decentralization and their voice on CDF projects.
The MP is the highest elected official at constituents and at district level, who has got a foot both in Parliament, where resources are allocated, and keeping him or her away from the level where the resources were being applied created an undesirable gap.
But Lukashia constituency Member of Parliament George Chisanga shares different views, saying the government wants to weaken the relevance of members of Parliament.
Parliament has got its own sovereignty, just as presidency has got its own sovereignty, just as the judiciary has got its own sovereignty. So the president cannot bankroll us. He can't force us to enact laws that we don't believe in ourselves. In fact, if you notice what they did, shortly after that, they wanted to produce the CDF Act for amendment, but they've withdrawn it. I think because they must have read how the MPs were going to view that once it was brought. The intention in the new CDF legislation is to weaken the position of the Member of Parliament. You know, that's not how you change laws. When you are changing laws, you must look at the contemplation that was in place when they were first enacting the CDF Act. PF is not the one that enacted the CDF Act. It was actually enacted under the MMD, and it was a very well-negotiated document that ensured that the Member of Parliament becomes the figurehead in a constituency in implementing CDF projects. But this government has got a design to weaken us so that they can strengthen, because see, an MP from UPND, for instance, may not object to this because he knows that it's taken care of elsewhere by the government that is in power. I would have difficulties with that amendment because then it makes me completely irrelevant.
However, others like Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Smata feel the move undermines the relevance of councillors and the spirit of decentralization. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Media Network on Child Rights and Development Executive Director Henry Kabwe says rehabilitation and counseling are essential to assist children to find themselves on the wrong side of the law. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Kabwe says Zambia should not focus on investing in arresting children and taking them to correctional facilities because it is a huge cost. He explains that there is need to ensure that the compulsory aspect of education is followed up, as well as track what kind of activities they are doing, adding that this is one of the methods that can help reduce offenses committed by children.
With poverty and environment as the main enablers of children in conflict with the law, children's rights activists are requesting for the country not to invest in arresting children and taking them to correctional facilities because it is a huge cost. Media Network on Child Rights and Development Executive Director Henry Kabwe says rehabilitation and counseling is essential to assist children that find themselves on the wrong side with the law. He observed the need to ensure that the compulsory aspect of education is followed up, as well as tracked what kind of activities they are doing, adding that this is one of the methods that can help reduce offenses committed by children.
So if it's poverty which is causing this, how can we ensure that those families are helped? Because if we tolerate this issue of these children forming these groups, we are investing wrongly. We cannot invest in arresting children, taking them to correctional facilities or the police cells, because it's a huge cost. So we need to ensure that the compulsory aspect of education is well followed up. The wards have records of learners, and the constituencies have records of learners. All those learners must be somehow in school, and they must be tracked what kind of activities are they doing.
Children in conflict with the law are often those who face multiple and intersecting challenges in their lives. In many jurisdictions, when children from unfavorable circumstances come into conflict with the law, they can be held in a closed facility as a putative welfare measure, even when the child's actions do not constitute a substantive breach of the penal law.
Substances which have affected your mind. So it's very, very important that we preserve our future, we preserve our society by protecting children from such kind of thing, apart from the licensing of those who sell these products, because at the moment it's everywhere that some of these things are.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Ruling UPND Northwestern Provincial Information and Publicity Secretary Gibson Kashamba is cognizant of the concerns of some party youths who are complaining of being left out of the police recruitment exercise. Speaking at a major briefing in Solwezi District, Mr. Kashamba says this has demonstrated interference in the recruitment process by the UPND leadership. He has since urged the party youth members to engage in other productive ventures, which the government is supporting under initiatives such as the Increased Constituency Development Fund and Empowerment under the CEEC. Mr. Kashamba says there are various initiatives and therefore no one, including party members, should feel left out or feel neglected by the UPND government, as these initiatives are ongoing with many youths empowered in various skills. The ruling UPND leadership in Northwestern Province has taken note of the latest announcement and publication of the recruitment of over 1,700 police officers by the Zambia Police Service. The recruited 1,753 police officers on October 22nd, 2023, expected to report to their various training schools at Kafisa in Kitwe and Lilai Police College in Lusaka.
As a province, we take note of the latest announcement and publication on the recruitment of over 1,700 police officers by the UPND government. We wish the successful men and women in uniform, we wish them well as they start their careers in the police service. The party leadership has also taken note of the concerns by our youths in the party that have been left out in the recruitment exercise. This demonstrates non-interference in the recruitment processes by the UPND leadership. We don't interfere in the processes. We want every Zambian must qualify on merit. With the various initiatives, no one, including party members, should feel left out or feel neglected by UPND government, as these initiatives going on with many other youth empowerment in various skills, some who did not have an opportunity to acquire any livelihood skills. We want to encourage the youths not to lose focus, as President Hakainde Hichilema is aware of the challenges that they are facing, and these are being addressed.
Parliament Deputy Opposition Whip Stephen Kampyongo has predicted that it will be impossible for the government to reduce the high cost of living, provided the cost of fuel and electricity to increase, coupled with the depreciation of the kwacha. Mr. Kampyongo says President Hakainde Hichilema's administration took the International Monetary Fund bailout package with closed eyes, hence majority of Zambians are being subjected to abject poverty. The parliamentarian has charged that the UPND is not receptive to checks and balances, citing the failure to support progressive motion being suggested by opposition political parties in the country.
It's simply not possible. How do you expect to reduce the price of meal when maize is not available in abundance, when farmers haven't produced? I was just saying that farmers need to be adequately supported, and the FISIP program has been a well-recognized program. Even the IMF do recognize the success of food farmer import support program. So these are the challenges that we had, and these are the sticking points that couldn't make government quickly reach an agreement, because we knew these three: the cost of fuel, and the doing away of Indian petroleum, and the cost of electricity.
Are they receptive to?
Well, you heard the president calling for severity in offering checks and balances. We also expect that if there's severity in the response to checks and balances, then we are embracing democracy. Democracy entails that we can't be all one thinking. So those of us who are in the opposition have got a role to play in offering checks and balances and alternatives given. But if people are not receptive to that, what do you do? Look at how many times we have used Parliament to bring it to the attention of the nation regarding the inadequate supplies of essential medical drugs in our oil facilities. We even had a report of Madam Speaker coming on the floor. What did the minister do? She trashed that report. But the president had to come during his address to acknowledge that there has been a challenge.
Zambia must prosper. President Kelvin Walya-Fube, commonly known as KBF, has charged that there is nothing to write home about in the 2024 national budget. Mr. Walya has charged that the 2024 national budget is just an academic exercise for the sake of fulfilling the mandate. He says all the budgets presented by the United Party for National Development government have not been instrumental in improving the economic and social status of citizens. The opposition leader charges that the proposed 2024 national budget does not speak to industrialization and enhancing the viability of the local manufacturing sector. Hence, he feels nothing much will be achieved.
Write home about. The UPND has always been having the same budget. The only thing they do is increase figures here, reduce figures there, move a few scandal reports. There is nothing. Wom Sokotwane actually is a very big disappointment for me, because I thought we're going to have a finance minister who's well-versed, who's seasoned. But I can tell you that all the budgets that the finance minister has presented, they've just given us nothing. If you're going to talk about growth, the biggest indicators of growth are: 1, infrastructure; 2, agricultural production; 3, mining sector production; 4, the manufacturing sector. Go and read the report and you see that there's nothing there which gives you an indication that these things are going to be building the economy or giving Zambians anything to talk about which we can say will be developmental. And Zambia must prosper is telling the Zambians, ignore this budget. There's nothing different from this budget and the previous budgets. They're just there for the sake of documentation, nothing else. Thank you. Thank you.
A 25-year-old man from Kaunda Square, Stage 2, is on the run after defiling a 7-year-old girl. Police initial investigations indicate that Kenny Lungu, who lives in the same neighborhood with the survivor, is alleged to have dragged her from outside where she was playing with his daughter into his bedroom. Deputy Police Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale says efforts by his daughter to rescue her friend failed, and quickly she called the survivor's grandmother, who rushed and found Mr. Lungu having carnal knowledge of the girl.
A 25-year-old man of Kaunda Square, Stage 2, is on the run after defiling a 7-year-old girl. Police initial investigations indicate that Kenny Lungu, who lives in the same neighborhood with the victim, is alleged to have dragged her from outside where she was playing with his daughter into his bedroom. Efforts by his daughter to rescue her friend failed, and quickly she called the victim's grandmother, who rushed and found Mr. Lungu having carnal knowledge of the girl. The grandmother tried to apprehend the suspect, but she was overpowered and he managed to escape. The matter was reported to police, where a medical report form was issued and the victim was rushed to the hospital. This occurred on October 13, 2023, around 14 hours at the suspect's house in Kaunda Square. Investigations are ongoing.
Economist Trevor Hambai says the projected 4.8% growth of Zambia's gross domestic product (GDP) in the 2024 national budget is not enough to address the country's challenges, such as poverty, which has increased from 54% to 60%, and the high cost of living. Reacting to the 2024 national budget, Mr. Hambai has also called for the rethink of the macroeconomic indicator of inflation, which is projected as 6 to 8%, to one which puts money into the hands of citizens, regardless of the figure. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Hambai has, however, hailed the 2024 budget for reduced borrowed financing and increases in almost all sectors of the economy. Let's get the details in this report.
On September 29, 2023, Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, unveiled the 177 billion kwacha 2024 national budget aimed at kickstarting the wheels of the economy under the theme Unlocking Economic Potential. The budget aims to promote economic growth through enhanced private sector investment, increased production and productivity, and improve public service delivery. Stakeholders have continued to express mixed reactions on government's plan of expenditure and revenue. Economist Trevor Hambai says the 2024 budget is good as it has reduced borrowed financing as well as notable increases in various sectors.
The first thing that speaks to the budget being very good is that we've actually gone back to reducing the debt that we are borrowing to finance the budget. Remember, we're taking a major portion of the budget to put towards social spending. Is that in the 2024 budget, all the sectors have had an increase in allocation.
Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Hambai, however, is of the view that the projected 4.8% GDP growth in 2024 is not enough to address Zambia's immediate challenges.
Those challenges are poverty. We have seen that has increased from 54 to 60%. The issue around the high cost of living, and as well as the issue around having to increase revenue for government that is going to be able to deal with debt servicing. The GDP at 4.8% is far short of the minimum that we require to be able to sustain the operations of government at 5.6%.
Meanwhile, Mr. Hambai has proposed a rethink of the inflation target projection, which stands at 6.8% in 2024, to instead focus on putting more money into citizens' hands, regardless of the macroeconomic stability indicators figure. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Zambia has agreed to a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with its Official Creditor Committee (OCC) on the comprehensive debt treatment agreed upon in June 2023. According to the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, the MOU formalizes the agreement reached in June with official creditors and represents an important milestone in achieving long-term debt sustainability. In a statement made available to Camnet News Saturday, each official creditor will now begin their internal processes to sign the MOU, upon which it will be implemented through bilateral agreements with each member of the OCC. The ministry says it is hopeful that the formalization of the OCC agreement will further support the progress Zambia is making in achieving a comparable agreement with its private creditors to resolve the debt overhang. The statement adds that Zambia is continuing in good faith engagement with all its commercial external creditors and hopes to conclude restructuring agreements that would both respect the country's need for debt relief and the comparability of treatment principle. The ministry reiterates its firm commitment to remain in arrears with its external commercial creditors until agreements compatible with the comparability of treatment principle are reached. Zambia's Official Creditor Committee is co-chaired by China and France and vice-chaired by South Africa. You're watching the main news at Camnet TV. We now take our first set of commercials. Do join me with more news after the break.
Potatoes, the unsung heroes of flavor. From crispy chips to creamy mash, potatoes are the versatile superstars of your kitchen. Grown with love by our dedicated workforce drawn from around the community of Palavana. Savenda Farm's commitment is to see to it that we have potatoes that are grown right, healthy, big and tasty. For that quick fix or big celebration or that meal that brings family together, top chefs rely on the Savenda potato to create culinary masterpieces. And for others, it's that icebreaker to a delightful conversation. So, embrace the magic of Savenda potatoes. They're not just a side dish, they're the heart and soul of your kitchen. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Are you planning to marry or get married? Contact the Camnet media team for a professional capturing of your big day in life. Let your relatives, friends and the nation join you in celebrating your big day on television. Just at a manageable fee, Camnet Television will cover and transmit your wedding on your channel of choice. Contact the marketing department on mobile number. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
I give my love to heaven home and as far.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We now continue with more news. Citizens First CF leader Harry Kalaba has urged the government to be proactive in engaging the church in its activities as opposed to waiting for invitations. Mr. Kalaba has charged that the church can only be part and parcel of government activities if it is engaged in various programs such as Constituency Development Fund, CDF. He was speaking when he joined the Catholic faithful to celebrate 25 years of St. Astasio Oyera Parish, Muchini in Chipata.
So we've just we were invited by the Catholic Diocese to attend the 25-year celebration of St. Astasio Oyera here in Muchini in Chipata. We are glad that we are part of this very important occasion. And our appeal to government is that they should not only be waiting for functions like this, they should begin incorporating government. They should begin incorporating the change in whatever they are doing. Because when you have commissions of the mining commission, the church must be involved. The CDF, the church must be involved. It's the only way that government is going to partner effectively with the church. Without that, the church then will just be advising from a distance. We want government to walk the talk with the government or with the church.
Political activist Charles Mwelwa has charged that the majority of Zambians may not appreciate the impact of the increased Constituency Development Fund CDF, provided the approach remains unchanged. Mr. Mwelwa says the over-involvement of the central government is making the administration of funds difficult. He says there is need to address the issue of ultimately disbursement of resources in order to speed up the implementation of projects.
Look at the increment of CDF. You know, I just look at it's just the figures that are actually changing, but the things that are actually happening there are not equal to the meaning of what is actually being pronounced in the CDF programs. You know, I'll give an example of my constituents where I actually come from, Mwenze. You know, the things that are actually being done there as compared to what is actually being pronounced, they are completely two different things. And to make matters worse, it's not that, let's say for example, last year it was about, this year it was about 28 million. The question is, has the all 28 million been given to the people of each and every constituency? If the answer is yes, how was the same CDF supervised? Do we still have got people from the top who are actually still influencing on the CDF? Those are the questions that needs to be answered by our colleagues in the leadership. So to me, the CDF, even if it actually reaches at 50 million kwacha, and the way it is actually being used does not change, it will not make any difference. And you know what has happened with the CDF? It's just like getting money from Ministry of Education, they get money from Ministry of Home Affairs, in short, they get money from the central bank. Then they say, let's take it to constituencies. If the police, if Home Affairs wants to buy a vehicle, they have to apply through the CDF. They are on top at the ministry. They do not have money. So there is no, even if it actually goes to 50 million, to me it is actually not going to make any difference. As long as the way it is actually being used is not making sense to the ordinary Zambian people. I think that's my take on CDF.
That item leads us to our last set of commercials. Do join me with some sports and international news. Stay glued.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. And now in international news, 6 months since conflict broke out, Sudan's brutal war continues to inflict immeasurable suffering, endangering life, displacing millions from their homes and causing deaths even in areas far from front lines. More than 9,000 deaths, 5.6 million displaced people and refugees, cholera and deindustrialization. The war that broke out between General al-Burhani and Mohammed Hamdan Daglo has brought Sudan to its knees and revenged its capital, Khartoum. Sudanese hopes of an end to the fighting and fading as people feel more and more scared. Here's a roundup of international news.
6 months since conflict broke out, Sudan's brutal war continues to inflict immeasurable suffering, endangering lives, displacing millions from their homes, and causing deaths even in areas far from the front lines. The war continues mercilessly. We wake up every day hoping that a solution or agreement or ceasefire will be reached. Unfortunately, this hope fades day by day. More than 9,000 deaths, 5.6 million displaced people and refugees, the war that broke out between General al-Burhan and Mohammed Hamdan Daglo has brought Sudan to its knees and ravaged its capital, Khartoum. The past 6 months were a bitter period. We're scared day and night, scared of the bombs and bullets. Across Sudan, the fragile health system is struggling, emergency rooms are congested, and many hospitals have closed completely. According to the international president of Doctors Without Borders, Sudan's crisis epitomizes a catastrophic failure of humanity. Some charity organizations are helping, but we still need health aid, blankets, bed sheets, and also there is water and medicine shortage. Overall, there is a shortage in healthcare services.
والفرشات المويه برضو ما مستمر العلاجات الحاجات الصحيه كلها الخدمات الصحيه يمكن يكون فيه.
With no end to the war in sight, NGOs are calling for a substantial increase in efforts to provide humanitarian aid and for people of Sudan to be allowed unhindered access to medical aid. Pro-Palestinian rallies, both organized and spontaneous, in response to the conflict between Israel and Gaza-based militant groups, have taken the MENA region by storm. In North Africa, demonstrators gathered in Algeria, Libya and Morocco to show support in favor of Palestine. The entire Algerian people are in solidarity with the Palestinian people and stand by their side. The Palestinian people are in distress and need the support of the Arab and Muslim communities. Despite normalized ties with Israel, Prince Hisham Halawi of Morocco has voiced his support for Palestine on social media. Thousands of Moroccans also protested to ask the government puts an end to the normalization. This is a call to the Moroccan state to stop normalization, an appeal to Morocco, which chairs the Jerusalem Committee, to act urgently to close the liaison office with Israel and to withdraw from all agreements. This is what Moroccan people demand today. In Libya, the 5 El Ahmad towers illuminated in the colors of the Palestinian flag in support. The Libyan government has always publicly sided with Palestine and has not recognized Israel. We're a long way from Palestine. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. All we can do is speak up for the Palestinian people. On Friday, thousands of Palestinians fled to southern Gaza in search of refuge before an expected ground offensive against Hamas in retaliation for the deadliest attack in Israel's history.
In sports news, Morocco's head coach Wale Regragui is anticipating one of the most challenging tournaments to date when the TOTALENERGIES Africa Cup of Nations Côte d'Ivoire 2023 is played in the West African country in January. The tactician, who led his side to the semi-finals of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, made this observation in the wake of Thursday's draw in Abidjan. The draw placed the Atlas Lions in Group F alongside DR Congo, Zambia and Tanzania, which led to thoughts of the Atlas Lions getting a favorable draw in the 24-team competition. Morocco, under Regragui's guidance, gears up for an AFCON that promises intense competition and high aspirations among all participating nations. While Morocco's formidable squad might be considered favorites, Regragui was quick to alert the high level of competition that awaits. He noted that there are no weak teams or easy matches in this tournament. In his perspective, balanced groups in competitions of this stature require every team to be thoroughly prepared. The coach also acknowledged that every participating team, including Morocco, aspires to win the trophy, emphasizing that his players share the dream of winning. That item brings us to the end of our main news, but before I go, let's take a look at the stories making headlines. Stephen Campyongo predicts further escalating in the high cost of living. There is nothing to write home about in the 2024 budget, charges KBF. Zambia agrees memorandum of understanding with the official creditors committee. In international news, Sudan lose hope as war enters 6th month. In sports news, Morocco coach anticipates grueling TOTALENERGIES AFCON. We now look at our Camnet verse of the day, coming from the book of 2 Samuel 22, verse 29. You, Lord, are my lamp. The Lord turns my darkness into light. My name is Sylvia Zulu. On behalf of the entire Camnet News production crew, thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of our programming. Good night.